I used to tell them I was just figuring things out. It was easier that way. Less explaining, less judgment, less disappointment in their eyes. At Sunday dinners, when someone asked what I was doing with my life, I'd shrug and say something like, I'm just trying a few things. Nothing serious yet, and like clockwork, the eye rolls, besides the backhanded jokes. Still playing on the computer? Cousin Ray just got promoted again. Have you thought about going back to school? I smiled through all of it, because the truth was, I wasn't just figuring it out. I knew exactly what I was chasing. I had an idea, a vision, something small and fragile. It's like a spark you cup with both hands just to keep the wind from snuffing it out. But I didn't tell them because I knew how that conversation would go. They wouldn't ask questions, they'd lecture. They wouldn't be curious, they'd correct, so I played dumb. Let them think I was still wandering, still lost. And when dinner was over and the dishes were cleared, I'd head home, fire up my laptop, and build quietly alone, page by page. Line by line, every just figuring it out was a shield. A lie. Maybe, but a lie that protected my dream from people too practical to believe in it. I didn't need applause. I just needed time. And deep down I knew. One day, they'd see what I was really doing. I got used to being the punchline. At first it was small stuff. Must be nice. Waking up at noon. Still on that internet thing. Harmless, right? Just family teasing. But over time, it started to sting. Because I wasn't sleeping in. I wasn't lounging around. I was working 10-hour days. Not in an office. Sure, but grinding. Studying blockchain code at 3 a.m., pitching ideas to strangers. Online who'd ghost me the next morning, risking every dollar I had on something that wasn't guaranteed, but they couldn't see that. All they saw was a guy still living in a small apartment, still driving the old Civic, still showing up to dinner, in jeans and quiet shoes, so the jokes kept coming. You apply anywhere yet? Let me know if you need help with your resume. Not everyone can be Zuckerberg, bro. And every time I smiled, because what else could I do? I laughed when they laughed, even when it felt like every joke chipped away at something inside. Me. They didn't know how hard I was working. How many times I came this close to quitting. How I sometimes sat in my car after dinner, gripping the wheel, wondering if they were right. But I kept showing up to dinner, to work, to the dream, because the humiliation, it wasn't enough to stop me. If anything, it fueled me most nights. The only light in my apartment came from my screen. I lived off caffeine, microwave meals, and YouTube tutorials. While the world was out dating, partying, living, I was knee-deep in smart contracts, in code that barely made sense to me. I didn't have a mentor, didn't have funding, didn't even have support. What I had, it was obsession. There were weeks I didn't talk to a single person outside of forums and Discord chats. I'd go down rabbit holes watching videos at 2 a.m. about tokenomics, reading white papers until my eyes burned. Crypto was still a joke too. Most people back then, but I saw something in it. A way to build something that couldn't be taken away. I'd work until sunrise, to crash for a few hours and do it all over again. Sometimes my code would crash. Sometimes I'd lose a week's progress over a stupid CMO end. And sometimes I'd make a breakthrough that felt like lightning in my chest. I didn't tell my family, not because I was hiding something bad, but because I didn't want them to see it while it was still fragile. You don't show people your blueprint when all they want to do is poke holes in it. You wait until there's a building so. I stayed in the shadows, head down, stacking bricks, because one day I knew I wouldn't need to explain what I was doing. I'd just show them. There was one night, I almost shut it all down. The site had crashed again. A key investor pulled out without warning. I'd maxed 2 credit cards just trying to keep the servers alive, and then my rent was due. I had $173 in my checking account. I remember sitting there just staring at the screen, not typing, not fixing, just staring. The room was dead quiet, except for the hum of my old desk fan and the Voice in my head whispering, maybe they were right. Maybe I was wasting my time. Maybe I should have taken that job at the bank. Maybe. This whole dream was just a fantasy I clung to so I didn't have to admit I was scared of a normal life. I opened a Word doc to write a goodbye letter to my users. All 6 of them. But then I saw it in email. Not spam. Not a newsletter, it was a message from a guy in Germany. He said, I've been using your platform for a few weeks. It's the first time I've actually understood crypto.
Please don't stop.
You're on to something. Just 10 lines, but it snapped me back. That stranger had no reason to lie. No. Stake in my survival, but his words hit deeper than any paycheck I'd ever received. So I closed the Word doc, took a deep breath, and went back to work. Because sometimes it takes to keep going. One person who sees what you're building, even when no one else does. I don't know the exact moment it happened. There wasn't a parade, no viral video, no big investor waving a check. It started with a single Stripe notification, $19.99, new subscription. Then a few minutes later another, then another. By the end of that week, I had 42 paying users. For the first time, the numbers weren't just theory. They were real. And they were. Growing, the code was still clunky. The UI needed work, but it worked. People were using it, and I remember thinking, wait, this might actually happen. Not in a cocky way, in a deeply quiet, almost terrified kind of way. Because success, real success, changes everything. It meant I couldn't keep calling this a hobby. Couldn't keep pretending I wasn't building something real. I kept my head down, didn't tweet about it. Didn't tell my friends, just kept improving, tightening screws. Adding features, I automated onboarding, hired my first freelance. Dev set up a payment wall and watched it all go from side project, startup. I still showed up to family dinners. With the same hoodie and the same old car, they still thought I was just between things. And that was fine by me, because while they saw silence, I was hearing the click of something coming together, something I'd built with my own 2 hands. By the time I crossed my first $1 million in revenue, no one in my family knew, not a single soul. They still thought I was between gigs. Still sent me job postings. Still pulled me aside to say, you should think about something more stable, and I smiled. Every time because, honestly, I didn't need their validation anymore. My business was growing. I had users in 17 countries. Revenue that used to feel impossible was showing up daily. I bought my first house, small, quiet, no mortgage. I paid off my college debt in one click. I started investing in startups that reminded me of me, raw, scrappy, underestimated. But I never changed how I showed up to them. Still wore the same, beat-up sneakers, still drove the same car, still sat at the dinner table and passed the mashed potatoes like nothing had happened. Because this wind? It wasn't for them. It was for the version of me they didn't see, the one grinding at 3 a.m., the one they laughed at, the one they thought would burn out. There's a certain kind of power in being underestimated. In building something real quietly, no. Claps, no updates, no posts. Just the steady hum of a life they never thought I could build. And I liked it that way.
I didn't buy the Ferrari to prove anything.
Honestly, I just wanted to do something for the kid in me. The one who used to stare at posters and whisper, maybe someday. The dealership handed me the keys like it was just another sale. But to me, it felt like holding the weight of every you'll never make it. A few weeks later, I drove it to Thanksgiving. I didn't say a word when I pulled up. Didn't rev the engine. Didn't text ahead. Just parked. The garage went quiet. Forks paused, mid-dash air. My uncle nearly choked on his stuffing. Whose car is that? Someone asked. I shrugged. Mine. That's all I said. I saw the shift in their eyes from disbelief to curiosity to something like respect. But it didn't feel like revenge. It felt like a rival. They asked questions. I gave short answers. No. Gloating no. I told told dash you dash so's, because by then, I didn't need to rub it in. They already knew. They could see the truth they refused to believe when I was still in my hoodie, eating cold pizza, building in silence, and no, the Ferrari wasn't for them. It was for the years I gave to a dream no one else could see. For the late nights, the near-broke mornings, and every year wasting your time that lit a fire in my gut. That car wasn't revenge. It was recognition for me. To me, they never apologized, not once. No, hey, we were wrong. No, sorry, we doubted you. Number one pulled me aside to say we should have believed in you. But suddenly, I was someone worth listening to. They started asking questions about business, about crypto, about me. The same relatives who told me to get a real job were now asking how to invest. The same cousins who rolled their eyes now wanted coffee just to pick my brain. It was strange. Not bad, just different. And I realized something right then. Success changes the way people see you, but it doesn't change who they are. I didn't need their applause anymore. I didn't need validation from people who only see value once it's wrapped in a price tag. What I needed, I already had: peace, freedom, and the quiet pride of knowing I was right to believe in myself when no one else did. So I answered their questions, smiled politely, gave them just enough to feel like they were part of something they never supported, not out of pettiness, but because I didn't carry anger anymore. They didn't give me respect when I needed it. They gave it when I didn't. They thought I wanted revenge. Like the car, the silence. The success was some grand middle finger to the family who once laughed at me. But the truth, I didn't build all this to rub it in their faces. I built it because I was tired of not being taken seriously, tired of being the dreamer, the lost one, the one they whispered about in the kitchen after I left the room. I remember family dinners where I'd try to explain blockchain, and they'd just nod politely, or worse, change the subject like I hadn't spoken. I wasn't chasing their approval. I was starving for basic respect, not applause, just eye contact. A simple, hey, maybe he's onto something, and yeah, I didn't get it back then. But here's what they don't understand. Every joke they made, every eye roll, every why don't you get a real job, that became fuel, not bitterness, just ignition. Because there's something powerful about proving you're not crazy, that your dream isn't. Delusion that the future you imagined, even when no one else could see it, was real. They think the win was the Ferrari. But for me, it was hearing someone say, you were right. And finally, knowing it wasn't luck, it was me. To the dream they didn't see, you were real to me. Even when no one else believed, they saw wasted time. I saw late nights becoming blueprints. They saw failure waiting to happen. I saw a future worth fighting for. You weren't loud. You didn't come with guarantees. You lived in silence, tucked between lines of code. Inside every sleepless night, and hidden behind every polite smile I gave when they laughed. You kept me going when wanted to quit. You reminded me who I was before anyone had the chance to define me. They didn't see you when I was eating leftovers at 2 a.m. They didn't see you when I was rejected by investors. No. Debugging crashes, refreshing dashboards, hoping for just one new sign-up. But I did. I always did. And now, you live in every keystroke of a company I built from nothing, in every choice I make on my time, in every quiet moment where I breathe easy, knowing I never needed applause, just the space to grow. So to the dream they didn't see, thank you for staying with me when no one else did, for becoming the life I live now, not out of spite, but out of love for the fire you lit in me. You weren't about proving them wrong, you were about proving me right, and now they finally see you.